Good morning and welcome to BBOC Live, presented by BetMGM. This is the College Football Bowl Betting Preview, Part 1. I'm Stuckey, and joining me, as always, are my BBOC fellow co-hosts, Collin Wilson, and of course, the one and only Mr. Brett McMurphy. Have a lot to get to today. This is the first of many bowl betting preview shows, but we will talk about both primetime bowls tonight. We will also give our two best bets for the weekend bowls, including Monday. Before we do get started, I do want to remind everyone to make sure you download the award-winning Action Network app. You can find all of our bets there, in addition to an abundance of data and content for today's slate and beyond. And also, as I mentioned, BBOC is presented by BetMGM. Use bonus code ACTION when signing up to get up to $1,500 paid back in bonus bets if your first bet loses. For new users in Arizona, Colorado, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kentucky, Louisiana, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, and Wyoming. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 plus. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Before we get started, Brett, where are you coming from today?
I'm in a secret location, Stuckey. I had to change my location, hopefully change my luck for bowl season. So I'm up in the Northeast, Big Apple type state. So hopefully this will change my luck from a very poor regular season.
Well, speaking of which, let's take a look at the updated leaderboard. Brett is traveling around the country trying to change the mojo. Collin surged at the end of the year. Hopefully you can keep it rolling, but let's get right into our first best bets. I'll kick things off. I'm going to go with, if you have the Action Network app already, which you should, go into my action, and your action wrapped should be there, and it'll summarize how you did for the year, give your best teams, your worst teams. My best team was Miami of Ohio out of any sport. They were a cash cow all season. They also cashed a Mac future for me. I know that, so I'm going back to the well here with Miami of Ohio, the spread hawks, as we like to call them. I know that they're down to their third string quarterback, but quarterback play wasn't really how they got to the Mac title and won it, and how they covered all the games. They do all of the peripherals as well as any team in the country. They don't beat themselves. They have elite special teams that I've ranked number one in the country. I mean, the leading tackler on special teams, the Lou Groves Award winner, a fantastic punter, a fantastic punt returner. And then their defense is just stout. So give me the running dog here that has the better defense, the better special teams, and the better coaching. Miami's not going to do much on offense, but I think that they'll be able to run it some, then just rely on their special teams and defense. Give me Miami of Ohio, even with the uncertainty at quarterback. Chuck Martin, for what it's worth, 4-0 against the spread in bowls. Collin, where are you headed for your first best bet?
I'm not letting you get out of this. What's the name of that bowl sponsor?
Is that the Avocados one?
Avocados from Mexico.
Avocados from Mexico. Our producer, podcast producer, wishes he could implement the jingle here. But now I'm going to be singing that jingle again all day. Thanks.
Listen, I'm going to move off to the Jimmy Kimmel-less, Rob Gronkowski sponsored LA Bowl. I'm going to take the first half under 23.5. We have a lot of changes to both of these rosters, coaching staffs too. And on the Boise side, we have true freshman CJ Tiller is going to get the start here for Boise State. He has no experience whatsoever as a true freshman. And when you look at Boise's run attack, it's all inside, outside zone read. Well, none of the UCLA defenders are going to key on the quarterback when he's never ran that before. I checked like an hour of his high school footage. He doesn't run it in high school either. So we'll see what Boise does on the offensive side. Defensive side for UCLA, they have been great at stopping the run the entire season. And yes, I know Latu is out the door on his way to the NFL, but he wasn't the best run stopper on this roster. There was about 4 other guys that graded higher than him per PFF. So I expect that run defense to still be stout. And then the UCLA offense is just, this got to be the worst version that Chip Kelly's ever put out on the field. 125th in the nation in offensive finishing drives. They can't get it done in scoring opportunities. And then on defense, they're 14th in the nation in stopping people from getting in, 14th in finishing drives. So I don't see a lot of points in this game. I'm going to take the under 23.5 in the first half.
One last time, say his name, because you won't have to ever say it again.
Wow, you're gonna
Latu.
Latu has been. I mean, I've been on this guy, betting him every kind of way for 2 years now. So happy trails. Good luck in the NFL.
Yeah, one last chance for you. Great season for you, Collin. But one of your teams that your nemesis was UCLA. But I agree with this one. We'll talk about this bowl in a moment. But Brett, where are you going for your first best bet?
Kickoff 23 minutes away, Myrtle Beach Bowl, Georgia Southern and Ohio. Taking Georgia Southern, the numbers dropped under field goal, I believe, in the last 24 hours. That's good for me. We'll find out, actually, if that's good for me. This is more play against Ohio as much as it is on Georgia Southern. Ohio has lost multiple skill players, obviously quarterback Curtis Rourke, a couple of running backs, wide receiver, key players on defense. And then you couple that with the MAC has historically been bad in bowl games. You look on the other side, Georgia Southern, first glance, they're coming in on a 4-game losing streak. That smells like bad fish. However, the people that I talked to, it's once Georgia Southern got to that magical 6-win mark, and they were kind of out of the running for the conference title. I don't know if they kind of changed their expectations, but I think this bowl game, it kind of gives them a chance to reset their season. They're focused. They have a good passing offense. I think they'll take advantage and win this game against Ohio.
Yeah, this is I think this is a good point to bring up. This is always true in bowl season, but especially now. We just talked about 3 best bets: Miami of Ohio. Collin talked about Boise State, and then you just talked about Ohio. 3 teams down to their 3rd string quarterbacks. Embrace the chaos. And you also have just motivation. Some teams, you can try to handicap it, but sometimes you're just going to be dead wrong, and you'll probably know it within 3 minutes sometimes of the game starting, and there's just a sideline that doesn't care and they look lifeless. But especially with all of these quarterback transfers and injuries, and you're down to 3rd string quarterbacks, accept the variance. You're going to be dead wrong. You're going to be dead right sometimes. Don't chase. There's a bowl probably coming up in a couple hours. All right, let's dive into, we're going to talk about both primetime bowls. Let's start with the bowl that Collin already brought up, the LA Bowl, sponsored by Gronk. I think it's sponsored by Gronk. He's going to be like twerking, dancing, singing the national anthem. I'm interested to see what's going on there. UCLA up to a 6-point favorite here. Over under has dropped a bit to 47. I still like the under a bit here. I agree with Collin on the first half under too. I think that, look, what Boise State is going to do, UCLA had some key opt-outs with Latu, who's really, it hurts you from a pass rushing perspective, and then in the secondary. But Boise State is not going to be able to exploit those potential deficiency areas. They don't really have great receivers. They're down to a 3rd-string quarterback with no experience. So what is Boise going to do? They're just going to hand it off to Genty, who's amazing, and Helani, 75, 80% of the time. I don't think they're going to have too much success doing that. Genty is a hell of a player. Might be able to break 1 or 2, but they're just going to have low success rate trying to do that. I don't think that Boise is going to be able to attack downfield. So it's just going to be a lot of 3 and outs. There's just going to be a lot of inefficiency. And by the way, they have a punter, Aussie punter, who can boom the ball, so it can flip the field. And the other side, Boise State's defense wasn't great this year. Their biggest weakness is in the secondary, and I just don't think that UCLA has the weapons for a Power 5 team to really exploit some of the weaknesses there. So I think this sets up as a game where the clock's moving throughout. You don't get too many explosive plays through the air, and how Boise wants to play is going to play right into the teeth of the UCLA defense. So I like the under here. Collin, you already said you like the first half under, which I'm in agreement with, but you also like a player prop here.
Yeah, the under, my best bet was the under 23.5 in the first half, but let's hit a player prop here. There's only one player to focus on the Boise side, and that is Ashton Genty. Let's hit him for an anytime TD. I saw it out there at about -130. And look, I don't think there's going to be a lot of points scored in this game whatsoever, but if anyone's going to score on the Boise side, it's going to be Ashton Genty. Now, whether that is through an inside-outside zone read or he just lines up in man-blocking schemes and tries to run power, there is another element to his game that you can't forget about, and that is what he does out of the backfield. Yep. He has an all-purpose TD in 11 games this season. He is in the end zone all the time. And when you look at his passing splits, he goes out in the flats. He runs wheel routes to set up explosives. 3.2 yards per route run. For those of you out there that don't know what yards per route run is, 2 is explosive. He's at 3.2. His average depth of target is a -1 yard. He has no drops on the season, and he's forced 93 missed tackles. He is an absolute weapon. He is the only weapon, and he's going to be so good out of the backfield on short passes and behind the line of scrimmage. I think he gets in anytime TD -130.
Yeah, that's a great point. Is he is a weapon in the pass neck. And think about it. If you're Tiller, their inexperienced quarterback, and you're dropping back, right? You don't have any collegiate experience. What are you going to do? You're going to say, okay, I drop back. I don't see what I have Ashton Genty right here that I can drop it off to. So I'm sure he's going to get a lot of looks when they do decide to throw as well. Brett, what do you got here?
I like Boise State. I mean, it kind of plays into you guys liking the under. You always like get the underdog in a game that you think is going to go under. And this is a large part has to do with motivation. Boise, since Spencer Danielson has gotten the full-time position, they've finished with a 4-game winning streak, the last 3 under Danielson. Just this week, they've retained both offensive and defensive coordinators. Look, I know both teams have lost quarterbacks to the portal. That probably will impact Boise more. But I prefer a group of 5 team wanting to prove it can play against a disinterested Power 5 team. UCLA closed the season, Stuck, I'll use a line from you, playing like a corpse, except for its win against crosstown rival USC. Last month of the season, UCLA was favored 3 times against Cal, Arizona, and Arizona State. They lost all 3 outright. UCLA doesn't want to be in this game. This is a huge game for Boise. Continue the momentum. I'll take the 6 points with the Broncos.
Yeah, this is a case where I agree with you in that I am very, you never know, these are college kids, but I'm very confident from everyone I talked to that this game means a ton to Boise. And, ever since the coaching change, they've played like a different team. So and even Genty coming back and playing in this game, he could have went pretty much anywhere he wanted. Signals that this team really cares. Everything I've heard is they care. And they're obviously a small talent discrepancy, but UCLA had bigger expectations than this, playing Boise State in the Gronk Bowl. So if they come out and play, even like they did against Cal in the season finale, where they were just embarrassed and a lifeless corpse, then yeah, they're going to lose this game. So from a motivational perspective, I think Boise State clearly has the edge. We'll see if Chip Kelly can get his guys fired up.
And not to mention that, like, Chip Kelly has gone crazy in the transfer portal the last couple of days. Like, that's been his focus, not this game.
Yeah. And they've lost some coaches too. Defensive coordinator, most important. All right, let's move on to the second primetime bowl game tonight between Cal and Texas Tech. Texas Tech's up to a 3.5-point favorite here, over under 58.5. This is the Independence Bowl in Shreveport. I think I'm going off memory. Hopefully that's right. The Independence Bowl. This is a battle of 2 6-6 teams. From a motivational perspective, I'm pretty confident that Cal will want to be here, right? We just talked about that win over UCLA to get bowl eligible. Texas Tech, sort of in the same boat as UCLA. They had higher aspirations. There was a number of people, McMurphy, that picked them to win the Big 12 as a sleeper. But, some opt-outs on both sides. Texas Tech, more talented team, but they also had more impactful opt-outs and kids hit the portal. This is a tough game for me to handicap. Neither defense gives up a ton of explosive plays, should have some success running with their star backs in Ott and Brooks. What I'm going to do here, though, is look, and if you remember Texas Tech, their head coach, Joey McGuire, goes for it on 4th down as much as any coach in the country. Last year when they played Ole Miss, I believe they went for it 6 or 7 times on 4th down. It's a bowl game. It's an exhibition game. I expect that 4th down rate to, increase even more. If it's 4th and 3 at their own 38, they're probably going to go for it. So what I'm going to do is, which increases the variance of the game, certainly, but I'm going to wait to get Texas Tech live. Maybe they fail on a 4th down early, maybe on 2, and I can get a better number on Texas Tech live. I think that they're the superior team. Morton should be healthy. Brooks playing is big. And also, Collin, what you'll talk about, which I think plays into this, is that Cal's offense in the second half, if they're having to make some adjustments, might be at a disadvantage, which plays into your play. What do you like here?
Yeah, I like Cal plus 2.5 in the first half here. And listen, the best player in this game is Jaden Knott, Cal running back. And he made an announcement the other day that he tried to swerve everybody thinking that he was leaving the program, but then he said, no, I'm playing in the bowl game. And that is really big for Cal, who has massive rush advantages against the Texas Tech defensive front seven. And plus there's been some opt-outs, some injuries there that are going to not allow them to defend the rush. They're not very good at defending the rush anyways. So Cal definitely has an advantage there. So whatever they bring out with their offensive scheme is probably going to work, get some points up on the board and get the lead. But I am not a believer in Cal in the second half in this game because their offensive staff right now is a party of one. Offensive line coordinator Mike Bloch is going to be the one calling plays here. Quarterback coach is a vacancy right now. The tight end coach, Tim Plow, went back to UC Davis. Offensive coordinator Jake Spavital is now at Baylor. It's a one-man show calling the plays on offense. I don't expect the game plan to change in the third and fourth quarter. I agree with Stuck, TTU live. I'll be looking around the middle eight who's getting the ball in the second half, but this is a Cal first half play for me and finding a way to bet Texas Tech throughout the game.
Brett, what do you got here?
Yeah, Stuck, you're right. Before the season, I told Joey McGuire that I was picking Texas Tech to win the Big 12 title, and I told him it guaranteed one of two things: they would win the Big 12 title, or they would go 6-6. So I was actually correct. So keep that in mind for my conference futures next year: 6-6, or you'll win the title. I like over 58.
Do you get credit for that? Do you get paid out for half?
Well,
the
I
future
think it's a push. I lose
Yeah.
the title, but I get 6-6. I'm going to over 58. Collin, went into all the issues with their offense, but still, I like over. Cal 6-1 over their last 7 games, and also both teams have been wrecked by injuries. Specifically, Texas Tech, they got some of those guys back. But most importantly, both teams rank in the top 15 in the country in pace per play. So I like over 58.
Yeah, you should get a good pace here. I guess the only thing that would concern me is the Cal offensive adjustments, and then Colin, you mentioned who's the party of one, the offensive line coach, and you have Jay Knott. You're just going to run it a million times. So that would be my concern, but the pace should definitely be there for you, Brett. All right, before we get out of here, one final best bet. I'll kick things off. I'm going to go with Fresno State, New Mexico State over. New Mexico State doesn't play fast, which is a bit of a concern here, but I think that they should be able to move the ball pretty much at will. They are missing a key receiver, but this Fresno State defense doesn't do anything for me. I am a bit concerned about Fresno State showing up to this bowl. It's in New Mexico. They were at one point front runners. I mean, they controlled their own destiny in the Mountain West, and they collapsed late in the season. Now you're going to play New Mexico State in this bowl game. Where that might show up is on the defense. So you might just get a really lackadaisical effort on that side of the ball. But I think this New Mexico State offense, which is just really well schooled and schemed, I think is going to have a lot of success. On the other side of the ball, Fresno State pass heavy. It's going to play with pace. And Jeff Tedford, who stepped away for health reasons, won't be coaching. He's known as one of the most conservative head coaches in the country. Very old school, 4th and 1 at the 45. The opponent 45 were punting. Very conservative decision. So I think that you might get a more aggressive Fresno State, which isn't baked into this total. It's a bowl game anyway. And Tedford's not there to kind of rein things in. And this New Mexico State defense is bad. I mean, their metrics aren't great anyway, but they played one of the easiest schedules in the country, playing a bunch of circuses in the Conference USA. Fresno State has a very competent offense that should be able to move the ball at will. Just need to finish drives off with touchdowns, and I think we can clear 51 with ease as long as both teams care. Just look at what happened when New Mexico State played any offense with a pulse. I mean, Liberty they put up 700 yards. We're just going up and down the field at will. So give me the over here in a bowl game that I think could be pretty fun as long as the Fresno State offense cares a bit. Colin, where are you going for your second best bet?
And you need Mikey King not to get hurt because the Fresno
That's true.
Situation's bad shape.
It could be down to another third string. I don't know how many third string quarterbacks are going to end up playing today. I think there's a third. Western Kentucky's going to have a third string quarterback playing on Monday. Yeah, it's bowl season now. It's crazy. But what do you got?
I'm going to go back to the Avocados from Mexico Bowl. I'm going to take the App State, Miami, Ohio over 41. And I know that sounds crazy taking an over in this game, but there is a time when the market goes too far in one direction. If this game was played during the regular season a couple of weeks ago, I would have projected this at 51.5. Are we saying that the loss of Avion Smith at quarterback from Miami of Ohio is the reason that we dropped this? Probably not. And I'm not expecting a lot out of Henry Hessen, but App State was absolutely dominated on the ground by Troy in the Sun Belt Championship game. Troy scored a touchdown every time their drives got past the 40-yard line. I'm not saying Miami of Ohio has got the offensive firepower of Troy, but there is some light here at the end of the tunnel about getting some points up. But the bad weather, I think, is what plays into this. Miami right now in Orlando in the Avocados of Mexico Bowl, that's going to be 100% chance of rain, 20-mile-an-hour sustained winds. That is perfect for Miami of Ohio with their special teams. They're defensive. They're number one in special teams in the nation. Their defense is excellent. That's going to create excellent field position. And like Suck says to everybody on our podcast, there's more fourth downs being going for in the bowl than any other time of the year. I expect teams to get extremely good field position, especially in weather like this, where you're not going to be kicking a lot of field goals. So with Avocados from Mexico Bowl, I'm ready to crack them up. Put this song in Stuck's head for the rest of the day. I'm gonna take the over 41 here. It's gone too far.
Are those look a little small? Are those avocados?
I'm in Arkansas. I'm not in California. If I mean, what am I supposed to get here?
They're looking a little small there. But yeah, I agree with you. And by the way, you got to come down to field goals here. Graham Nicholson, my guy, Lou Groves Award winner. With the wind and weather and the punter, that's the special teams advantage when there's weather is even enhanced even more for the Spread Hawks. And for what it's worth, Collin, bowl totals under 45 historically, 68% to the over. Yeah, it's scary going under these low totals of bowls. I know for the most part, I try to stay off them. I usually hit one or two, but it's, a lot of it's numbers baked in. There's weather, but it's an exhibition game, right? So, you have teams that play a little looser. You have some trick plays. You'll go for it on fourth down. You're not really playing the same way that you might in the regular season. Brett, close us out here with your second and final best bet.
Yeah, just excuse me for a second. I had a tear to my eye. Stuckey said something positive about New Mexico State's offense, so I've got to take a moment here. It was at the Fresno defense. It was a dig on the Fresno defense. I heard something positive. Then you started talking negative, but it's a step in the right direction to you admitting you were wrong. Monday, let's go to the Bahamas Bowl. That is not going to be in the Bahamas. Sorry, ODU in Western Kentucky. You're in Charlotte. The famous Toastery Bowl. I'm looking at Old Dominion. I think they're -3, maybe it bumped up to -3.5. Stuck, you mentioned quarterback situation at Western Kentucky. It's up in the air on Austin Reed, his status on whether he's playing or not. If he is not, they're down to their third quarterback. Western Kentucky is thin on the offense and defensive line. But this is, even with what's going on with Western Kentucky, this is more a play on ODU. I think they've been vastly undervalued all year. They were, in their 11 games against FBS opponents, they were an underdog in 9 games. Their other 2 games, they were only a 1-point favorite, yet they ended up with 6 wins. And they've been more impressive this year. Western Kentucky has 1 win against teams that are in bowl games. ODU has 4 wins against teams that are in bowl games. I'll take the Monarchs to win the Bahamas Bowl in Charlotte and on Monday. And if Reed's out, then that only adds to that play.
All right, good stuff there. Thank you to Brett and Collin, as always, for joining me. Thanks to our producers on the back end. Thanks, most importantly, to all of you. By the way, if you're watching, subscribe, like. That really helps us out. And thanks to our sponsor, BetMGM. One final reminder, BBOC is presented by BetMGM. Use bonus code ACTION when signing up to get up to $1,500 paid back in bonus bets if your first bet loses. For new users in Arizona, Colorado, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kentucky, Louisiana, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, Wyoming. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 plus. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Make sure, if you haven't already, download the award-winning Action Never Cap. You can find all of our bets there in addition to an abundance of data and content for today's slate and beyond. Also listen to Big Bets on Campus wherever you listen to podcasts. We will have plenty of bowl previews. We will have also plenty more bowl preview live shows. I think next Friday we'll be back. Stay tuned on X or Twitter. we will always keep you up to date there. But thanks again for tuning in. 3 minutes till bowl season kicks off. Enjoy the chaos, embrace it. Good luck on all of your wagers. We'll see you later in the week. Cheers.